back to Satoshi Chain. My name is Adam, and we're going to go over a story here. This is the first time I'm really doing this, just covering a smaller creator's channel. I was watching about halfway through the video. He has lost $62,000 American in crypto on this cycle. He actually says he's going to go in again next cycle, and he's going to try to learn from his mistakes, which I think is obviously key and admirable. And of course, the fact that he's come out and kind of put this out there is also pretty brave of him. So commend him for that. I do have many things to say. It elicited quite many thoughts from me as I was watching this. So let's watch it together, and I can chime in.
All right, where do I start? I think this mug is pretty fitting. Every day is a fresh start. That is going to have to be my motto for the next few weeks, months, because every day is a fresh start. Life is not all about money. I have my health, a roof over my head. I do have a cash flowing business, so everything's okay, but it does hurt to lose a lot of money. Let's just start from the beginning. As you can see in my previous video, I had bought a van, and then I sold the van. I had about $50,000 April of this year, 2024. So I decided to put it into crypto. I saw that Bitcoin had gone all the way up to a new all-time high at about 73K, and it started to cool off a bit. I think it went down to about 63K. So I started to get interested into crypto again. And ironically, in 2020,
yeah, so let me just stop it there. I think that this is the main, the first thing that I thought about was getting into crypto or getting interest into crypto when it's hit its all-time high or like starting to breach its all-time high. Super risky already. Like, you've moved several levels up the risk curve. If you look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart, it did give you a visual guide to understanding where you were. It's kind of like a map of where you are in this current cycle. I do stick to the cycle theory so far, where we might break out of it eventually, but we haven't yet. So we were in kind of like the lower bands of the Bitcoin rainbow chart, in 2022, late 2022, all the way through to the middle of 2023. I started getting interested in trying to find extra cash for the cycle in 2023. In the summer, when the ETFs were first talked about, and there was a lot of news coming out about it, but the average person wasn't following at all. I wasn't able to get most of the money extra money that I was interested in. I already have a crypto holding, but I wanted to put more in. I just wasn't able to get those funds until far later, actually, after the ETF was announced. So it was quite late for me, but he's talking about getting into it right at that time. Like, that's when he started devising a plan, and that's kind of like the first lesson is pay attention during the bear market. Super, super critical, and don't kind of rush in after the fact.
1 or 2, I had gotten into crypto with like $4,000. I was in an exchange called Voyager that just went totally underwater, bankrupt, and I had been getting money back from them for a few years. So that was my first experience with crypto, losing a bunch of money with a bullshit exchange.
Okay, so he's learning too. So I don't know who he's watching online. I'll definitely tell you that higher quality channels like Coin Bureau or Cryptos R Us. I know you might find them controversial, but I think Coin Bureau is definitely recommended. Virtual Bacon as well, but many of these influencers, I think high quality channels will tell you to self custody. So it is a risk. It is a counterparty risk to be storing your coins and your tokens, your value on an exchange. And it's not advised. And there's so many examples of exchanges going down. FTX, Quadriga, CX or GX, Mt. Gox, and the list goes on and on and on. So obviously, hopefully, if he did his research, and if people are watching this now, self-custody your coins, especially when you've got over too much money that you don't want to lose, as tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Definitely do not leave the majority of them on the exchange. Because they can fail and they can get hacked, and sometimes you don't get that money back. Or in the case of FTX, people are being made whole again, but they're being given the amount of Bitcoin at the value that the company went bankrupt, which was in the middle of the bear market. So they're getting the equivalent value of Bitcoin being worth like $16,000, $20,000, even though they're getting paid back. They got paid back a few months ago, which is obviously infuriating.
Getting in at the top, and this time I wanted to not get in at the top, but I kind of did that anyways, because that's kind of how the story goes, is that I got in April, and I didn't get into Bitcoin. I got into a bunch of altcoins. I was in Avalanche.
And he's mentioning that he got in at the top, and that's actually not true. And I think I'm going to come back to this idea, but you have to have a plan and have to have conviction. He's kind of being led by his emotions here. I think what he's describing is like, oh, it's crypto's going up again. I'm going to get in, but then he's also kind of admitting that he doesn't understand Bitcoin seasonality. Again, this doesn't mean, it doesn't guarantee you that you're going to it's going to keep going. I think it's going to keep going for probably 4 to 6 months at minimum, and we're probably going to reach 150,000 US dollars. I think that's going to happen, and I have conviction towards that. But if he doesn't have that conviction, he hasn't done any of that research to kind of time himself and understand where he is in the market, roughly speaking, approximately. It's very hard for him to operate in those conditions, and he's likely to think that the market's going to end soon, and so he has to start adjusting, going up the risk curve in terms of the plays, and he describes that.
Avalanche, ICP, Render, I can name a few more, but slightly more speculative, not speculative, but riskier coins that when Bitcoin dumps, these coins just go into the gutter. And that's basically what happened from April to now. Obviously now Bitcoin has just crossed over $100,000 and things are going pretty parabolic. But from April to about August, things just were dumping down. Bitcoin went all the way down to sub 50K, and these altcoins took like 50% haircuts. So my 50,000 went down to, I think I was down to like 24,000 in July and August. And I was just so focused, so hyper fixated on crypto. I said I have a cash flowing business, so I didn't really need to work. So I was just really focused on learning the ins and outs of the industry.
Yeah, so I will say this, like, I also basically got my funds when Bitcoin reached all-time high, and unfortunately, we had accelerated very quickly because of the ETFs, which I did anticipate, but I wasn't sure what to do with, what to do next. So I didn't understand that we would have a 7 month or like 6 month cooling period about slowly trading downwards, basically. So I put in 50,000 of my Canadian dollars into the market, and I also went up the risk curve. So I initially planned on just going into Bitcoin, having Bitcoin, double, and then essentially like locking in profits. But instead, I was like, okay, in order to achieve the goals that I have for the cycle, I'm going to need to go into high risk curve. So kind of $10,000 into some bigger plays, like let's say Arweave, or Polygon, and then $10,000 into some more risky plays and some kind of. I didn't put anything into meme coins too early, but yeah, I was kind of like looking at the meme coins, specifically Brett. Was interested in the Pepe relation as well as the coin, the base chain. But yeah, so I ended up. I only put in. I had 100,000. I only put in 50. Left the other 50 as dry powder, and yeah, there was at one point that the 50 went down to 25. Through experience being in the markets now for 8 years, I've experienced like haircuts on my on paper, profits and gains, and so I think one of the main keys skills to develop is to not get too excited when your money goes up, because you're probably not going to cash it out, and not too fearful if your money goes down. So although it was psychologically rough to look at the 25, a 50% loss and $25,000 loss, and also to reflect on it, like I did want to get into the market much earlier. I had some hard limitations that kind of led me to getting in then. But I had told myself that the reason why I'm going to get in now, even though we're at an all-time high, is that because the market could keep accelerating. We could have a bit of a different cycle. And I don't want to miss the bull run, because I have such conviction that this bull run is still going to go much higher. So it's worth it for me to get in at this point in time, get some of that exposure, because that's what I'm looking for is exposure. And if I have to go through even a 50% decline, which is something I literally was talking about openly with people around me, I know I'm going to survive. And 50% decline happened, more or less, and everything was fine. And I only put in 50%, so kind of like hedging myself. Obviously, I wish I'd put in the other 50% once we went down quite low, but I thought maybe we were going to go lower. It's hard to time the market. It's like you can't time your exact entry and exit points. So, then on November 5th, when the news started coming in that Trump's going to win the election, I kind of deployed more of my cash. And since then, the original positions I put in have gone up. I think I'm covered on that now. I'm in the positive. And the other positions I put in on November 5th definitely went up. So I feel like I've done well overall, and I feel like I'm well positioned for the rest of this bull run. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I definitely sympathize with what he's describing, with getting in later than you would like to, and kind of dealing with the emotions. But What he's going to describe next is something that I wouldn't recommend. I think he understands that it was a problem, and I think a lot of people do what he's going to describe.
I was on, crypto Twitter X nonstop, and I really was spending way too much time and focus and energy on this. And when I saw it dumping down, I'm like, what's going on? And I had faith. I knew that it was going to go back up, and that's what it's been doing. Ever since Trump got elected, things have been really going up. But ironically, that's when I started to make my mistakes. So for 6 months from April to November, I was just putting so much time and energy into crypto. It really wasn't going anywhere. So I was getting impatient. I was getting very frustrated about my investment because I had figured, I'll put my money into crypto for this 6-month lease that I have, and then I'll buy a house with this.
Yeah, and so that's where like he, I'd love. I'm gonna reach out to this guy and see if I can interview him. Maybe he'll give me an interview. It'd be interesting just to chat. But I think one of the other things that I'm seeing here is that he had kind of like an expectation and a time horizon, and that's really risky for investing. So he's like, I'm going to put this money in at this time, and 6 months later, I'm going to get this number out of there. When you approach it that way, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and because he had come in at a time he's feeling is a bit later, he went up the risk curve. He's got time horizons now on this money, and now he's not being psychologically healthy or socially healthy because he's spending all of this time. He's losing sleep. He's going to describe doing this. It really makes the situation quite bad. So again, I think this could be alleviated by studying the markets a bit more and having more kind of a foundational conviction, is what I would say, in where the markets are heading. But without that, with the tight time horizon, I can see again how it would be. He was in this position, and even though I haven't felt like this in my 8 years, I know that this is a lot, if not the majority, of people who are in crypto. So, again, good on him for coming out and describing this.
50,000, hopefully turn it into 100, 150,000 very easily in crypto. And the stock market had been running up. I sold some shares of Nvidia that just continued to pump and pump. So I was getting very frustrated that, I took my money and put it into crypto when it's just been going down. Stocks have been going up. And then I continued to get deeper and deeper into the crypto community and learned about meme coins, trading. So I started to dabble into leverage trading with 3-4x leverage, which is...
Yeah, so this is where, like, as we're going up that risk curve, it's kind of like there's like a dial that we're, and he's put on the EQ, he's put the mids, the treble, he's switching everything now into high risk. So it's like high risk multiplied by cubed or squared, right? It's going to be quite intense here. Meme coins obviously very risky. Playing on leverage with meme coins, I would think that's almost insanity. But what he's going to describe what happened next.
It's just very risky and a way to lose and make a lot of money. But if you're not smart about it, you'll lose a lot of money.
Right.
And so the most recent failure was getting into meme coins. I decided I'll just take $10,000 of some of these coins that are already going up. I'm in the green. I've made some profit. I'll sell these and then go play around with some meme coins and get a Phantom wallet, Dex Screener. If you're really into crypto, you'll know these type of things. But so long story short, I started to put more and more money into...
So he got into the Solana meme coin game. So Solana's been popping off this season, particularly because of the meme coins. Dex Screener, like he's talking about, as a way to find projects, like fresh projects. Now there's Pump.Fun out there. I'm curious if he was using Pump.Fun or if it was just before he kind of got out of the market, just before it was became popular. But yeah, I'd love to know if he was using like stop losses, or if he was. There really isn't technicals that you can do on these meme coins, especially new ones. So I'm wondering if he was learning about the space, and I'm thinking he was probably learning about leverage and stop losses, and I wonder if the people he was listening to told him about taking profits and kind of like having some sort of side amount of money that you're not going to expose, so that you could reposition when things go down. But it would be interesting to get a little bit more context here.
To the Phantom wallet, selling my AVAX ICP for Solana, and taking losses on those, and then trying to go over here and make some quick gains, because the meme coin market, as you know, is just very, very volatile. I mean,
and I'll say too, like rotating out of coins to chase other things, especially like good quality plays. Like, let's say he had Solana or Avalanche. These are like pretty good layer 1 protocols. I had XRP. I got it at like 33 cents. I sold it at 33 cents last bull run because they were getting sued to shit, and Now, now it's at like $3 or $4. It's been popping off, and I've had a few other coins like this, particularly Bitcoin and ETH. Early on the days, I sold them because no one believed in this stuff in 2016. So I sold, had a profit, but then I missed out on a lot, and I was like, those are the worst decisions I've made so far in my financial life. Actually, is selling high quality tokens like Bitcoin, ETH, and even XRP, like way too early. Like moving, just doing stuff. If I had just like kind of forgotten about these coins, over time I would have been okay. And the time horizons we're talking about here, and I feel like younger people really need to hear this. It's not that much. Like it's not that bad. Like it's kind of crazy. I don't own this anymore. That's not what I have, but I have owned for like a $5,000 buy. I owned assets, specifically Bitcoin and ETH, that would be worth close to $1 million now today. But I bought them for like, again, under $5,000 Canadian dollars. But we've got to understand that no one knew what the value was of them, and so I sold at a profit. But I wish I'd held on to them. So it's just, I guess what I'm just saying is, if you've got some good projects, it can be hard to tell. But if you've got some kind of blue chip projects, don't sell, don't get. And I know ETH is like, people have been hating on ETH for over a year now, over almost like 2 years. But I'm going to tell you, like, when it starts popping off, and it seems like it's definitely broken out of its trend now, you're going to start getting interest coming back in, and the markets will flip. So the sentiment always flips.
These altcoins are risky, but these meme coins, I mean, sure, you can do a 3x in a few hours, but you can also get rug pulled and all your money gone in no time,
Yeah.
as I know now. And basically, I started to put more and more money into meme coins, and I went from about 45,000 I had at that time down to 13,000. I was getting really stressed out, and I was spending so much more time and energy. I was having these like panic attacks and anxiety because I was watching just my nest egg fluctuate so heavily now. I was staying up all night trading different meme coins, looking at decks, looking at the X communities, and it was really, really bad for my health. I started to notice I was getting sleep deprived. And anyways, I turned the 13 back into 43. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I got most of my money back. Now, if I could just make back a little bit more to what I had. And at that point, I had actually, sorry, this story's all over the place. There's so many details. I had gotten another big check in July or August or September. And I decided to put that into crypto as well. Another like $10,000. So I was at most I had about 65K. And I was like, if I can get back to 60K, I'll then go put it back into these altcoins that I had for 6 months, watching them go up and down, mainly down. And
I think this is like a term for this. So it's like the gambler's like fallacy or something. It's a gambler's fallacy, yeah. So it's kind of like, I got to win back my earnings, so I'm going to go extra hard. And again, it's like, I think from this story, what I would probably, I guess, like, he knows, like, he messed up. So I'm not berating him here, but it's like, don't do what you did. But if you do, I've heard about this. So people gamble, lose a lot of money, then they get like a lot of the money back, and then they're like, okay, I gotta, or even they even get more than the money back, and then they kind of flip their tune. I think you gotta start taking profits, and it's one of the hardest things to do in crypto. People will say it's actually not, making money is not the hard part, because again, if you just put your money in, and there's a period in time, specifically at the blow off top, like hyperbolic part of the cycle, which we're kind of going to enter soon, where all the tokens go up and everyone feels like a genius and everyone's up, like 2x, 3x, no matter what the fuck you bought. So at that point, learning to take profits, like, that's the hard part. Secure some of the profits. And so when he got back to 43, 50,000, if he still was convinced he had to take risk, he should have done it with like a fraction of his portfolio, maybe 33%, 40%. But he's doing, I think, what's very common for everyone is just selling the whole thing, going into another thing, and he's got full exposure, and he's not trying to collect his profits on the side. And again, it's like, you can win, like he's describing, he was winning, but then if you suffer a loss, it's basically unsalvageable.
And then I'll just ride out the next 2 months of this bull market that's happening, and of course now it's happening hard, and that was my mistake.
Yeah, and that's the other thing he's saying. Now it's happening hard. It's like, if you don't position yourself well and you're chasing too many things, you're emotionally drained. You're increasing your chance of not being in the market when it counts the most. So there's a statistic about like the S&P 500, which is like, the top returning days, it's like days or weeks, they return like 50% of the entire return. So if you're out of the market for those days or weeks, like a fraction of the total amount of time that this thing is operating, basically the S&P 500, the top 500 companies in America, if you're out of that index for like these brief periods of times, that's all the gains that everyone's getting, basically. So you have to be exposed, and you've got to be able to weather the storm. And if you kind of use leverage and you crash your ship basically before the tides really start turning or the wind picks up, you're going to be so remiss and lost when things do start turning around. And it's unfortunate.
Mistake was I said, okay, I'll only take 30K. I'll hold 30K in Solana. It won't do anything. It'll go up a little bit because it's a solid coin. And then I'll let the 10,000 ride out. And in this meme mustard, I don't know if you've seen the trend of Kendrick Lamar's new song where he's like singing mustard. Anyways, that's the coin that got me my 3x from 13 back to 43. So I was like, I'll let this 10K ride out. And that meme started to drop off. The coin wasn't doing too well. So it started going down. And ultimately, I made a shitty decision to get into a different coin and just go all in, take my $30,000 and put it into this coin that was a $5 million market cap. It just got created like 2 days ago. So risky and stupid. And I went to bed. The next day I wake up and it's back to like 10, hour later, 5, a few hours later, 2K. And that's when things just started to really set in. Like, holy shit, I'm not going to be able to turn 2,000 back into 50,000. And that's it. This is the end of it, you know?
Yeah, and that's got to be like just that moment. That's gonna be feel horrible. There was one time where I thought a transaction didn't go through, a $20,000 transaction didn't go through. The exchange was actually having a hard time processing the token at the time. I think it was it was XRP. It was XRP. Yeah, I was actually moving XRP. Like, this is way back. I don't have any of that stuff anymore. But the exchange had a problem, so I was trying to get it out of the exchange. The transaction was sent, like it said on the exchange it was sent, but it didn't actually hit the wallet. And I had to go out for dinner with friends that night, and it was just really rough, like imagining that I had lost $20,000 and really not knowing the fate of it. Because I moved the tokens around before, and that one should only take me a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes maximum. So it wasn't showing up. I was checking my phone, going to the washroom, checking my phone, but it felt horrible. And so he must have felt like even worse, knowing that he's kind of made these mistakes, and he's lost like a substantially more larger amount of money.
And now, over the past few weeks, I've been having to basically, lick my wounds a little bit, cope with all this, because what's happened is, of course, the bull run has taken off. I waited. I was so patient for 6
that
months,
fucking sucks.
and I made this mistake at the worst possible time when Bitcoin broke again, new all-time highs. These altcoins are making 50, 100%, 200% gains. And ironically, right when I converted a lot of those into Solana and then into the meme coins, I had a coin that I held for 6 months. I sold it. The next day, it does a 50% return. It stings. And that's what's happening right now. It's just a lot of like, wow, that 65, if I...
Like, I will say this, like, I think it's two sides of the same coin. So I think that, I think it's a mistake to chase the gains like he's done. But also I would say it's a mistake for him to ruminate on, this coin that I sold, it went up 50%. Like, I am a proponent of being more of a stoic on these things. So don't freak out. Don't check your portfolio every day. Don't have conviction. And with that conviction in your ability to understand the markets and why you're going in to begin with, and having kind of a clear-headed plan, if it goes down, don't panic. And if it goes up, don't accelerate. And if you sell and something goes up, let it go. Like, just be like, I couldn't have known. There's a very psychological aspect to trading, which I think he's fully aware of, but it seems like he's still trying to figure out like how to get his feelings working for him, basically. So it's kind of interesting. It would be interesting to talk with him.
Just would have let it sit. It would have been closer to $100,000 now, and that would have gotten me closer to my goal of being able to buy a house. And but ultimately, it's going to be a big lesson. I really was getting way too fixated. I wasn't working on my business much. I wasn't creating. I wasn't building anything. I was just trying to multiply my money. And crypto is not good or bad. I've lost a lot of money in it. I'm learning a lot. I'll still definitely be getting into crypto again next cycle in a few years. But it was definitely taking over my life in a really bad way, and especially at the end when I was trading these memes.
Again, so I would just, if he does end up seeing this, like, I'm glad that he's going to go into crypto again, and I hope he's going to go in from an understanding of what specifically what Bitcoin might be and why it's going to go up. Um, that should be like the main thing. And in terms of getting in again, I would hope that he does what I did, because I didn't do this for my first two bull runs, right? Like I started in the 2016 to 2017 bull run, didn't even know where I was, like what was going on really, what the potential for things were. I didn't know any past data, and then I didn't pay attention during the bear market, and then I went through the second bull run, the 2021, did a little bit better then. But then I was watching some high quality YouTubers, in my opinion, higher quality, and they were like, "You've got to pay attention to the bear market. That's when you make the most money. That's when you get in your positions." So I did that with some success. I didn't do it as well as I could have, but I've definitely had some success there. And I think that that's the main thing that he's missing. Like the main ingredient is to be following during the bear market, and getting into your positions when they're really low. Solana was like $16 at one point, super low. To get into those positions then. And the only way you can do that is if you've got conviction in the entire market, and specifically if you've got conviction in Bitcoin, which is the big one that's going to move first and before the altcoins eventually move. So I'd love for, like, I don't, he's probably as familiar with the Bitcoin rainbow chart, but if not, please check that out. That's like the number one resource that kind of shows you the halvings and shows you kind of like the 4-year cycles more or less, and will give you a pretty good indicator of when is a good time to buy. And I would personally, I would consider a good time to buy within a basically like the bottom rung and double the bottom area. So wherever the bottom ends up being for the cycle, if you bought at 100% more, which I think for a lot of people is like, oh my God, it was half price previously and you bought it for double now. But really, as long as you're buying Bitcoin within that range, and there's a whole 100% flexibility there. If you pick it up in that range, and it usually stays there for about 4 to 6 months, so you kind of get like the 4-month mark. You're like, okay, this seems to be the bottom. I don't know. It's hard to time still, but if you get in any time around there, you're cooking. You're good. So hopefully it looks at the Bitcoin rainbow chart next time.
Meme coins and having these little panic attacks of just like really not taking care of myself at all, and trying to chase, and I've learned that it's not, why try and chase a 3, 4, 5x, 10x when it's so much more risky. I could have put all my money into Bitcoin, just gotten a 2x, gotten 100% return off of.
So this is, so again, like, please, brother, like, save up now, like, and you don't have to save up by like putting cash into, but like, do your investing right now, but make sure that you have liquidity. And in about 2 years' time, I think it's going to be probably in about 2 years, we're going to have to bottom out. If the market does what it's done in the past, and we see that big crash and Bitcoin goes down, maybe it's only going to go down 50% this time because we've got the institutions in. But if Bitcoin goes down from there, that's when it's time to start scaling in, specifically with Bitcoin. And you can always jump out. You can jump out of Bitcoin after it doubles or triples, because the market still hasn't moved. Those altcoins did not move until October, basically September, October. And Bitcoin had already like doubled, almost on a 3x from the floor by the time the altcoins started popping off earlier on this year. So I think he knows all this, and I'm glad to hear that he's speaking in these terms. So it seems like he has learned. The issue will now be like execution, right? I think knowing is the easy part, but executing is the super hard part.
$60,000, and there we go. I've got $120,000. And that's definitely something I learned, was that why chase bigger returns that are more risky? Just play it more conservatively. But that's the brainwashing that kind of the crypto community has, is that, don't go into Bitcoin. You're only going to make a 2 or 3x at most. And in any other money market, stocks, a 2 or 3x on your money in a year is insane. So
yeah, so he knows all that. He's really well informed. I will say this, that don't like hang out or associate too much with the hype train. I think crypto banter for me is like the hypiest, most degen, part of the media landscape that I consume from crypto. But I definitely recommend a Virtual Bacon, as well as Cryptos R Us, and they do focus on that more macro view with Bitcoin. And they, Virtual Bacon recently did a video on how to structure a portfolio. We did about seven days ago, or about a week or two ago. So highly recommend that video, where he kind of shows you how to optimize your risk reward. Because although these people are correct, in the more degen forums, they're like, man, I made $2 million off of doing this on paper, and then I lost it. They don't tell you that part, but they are correct in saying, like, Bitcoin's not going to give you the returns you're seeking and all that stuff. their risk to reward is entirely out of whack. They are not calculating this market in terms of risk reward, and that's the number one metric you need to be using. With that in mind, exactly what he's saying, 60 to 80% in Bitcoin, especially in the bear market when things are not moving, and then gradually, maybe even 100% into Bitcoin, and then gradually starting to sell that position and position yourself into altcoins. And the 80-20 split is what Virtual Bacon was proposing. I do more of what George is doing, which is like a 50-25-25 split, where the initial 25 is mid caps, and then the other 25 is more degen or smaller cap plays that have a higher potential reward, but also a much higher risk profile. But Virtual Bacon was talking about an 80-20, where you just go 80% into Bitcoin, and then 20% you go to the far end of the risk curve. So you go into a few memes that can really give you outsized returns. And so that's a really good way of managing risk as well. And again, it seems like he's familiar with this. So I hope he does kind of look up Virtual Bacon specifically. And there's a few others. I think Miles, I forget his channel name, as well as Lark Davis. They do a really good content where they're not it's kind of like boomer crypto, I guess. It's more of like millennials and Gen X talking their way through this stuff.
It's just funny how you can get brainwashed into being greedy and wanting more and more, and seeing other coins go up and yours are just not doing anything and not having more patience. I think I just really should have had more patience and just let it play out. I got my mom and brother into crypto as well back in May and a little bit around May, and they just have been going on with their lives. They've putting a little bit of some loose change in there, a few $1,000s, and now they're up, a good a few $1,000s on their investments because they just let it sit and focus on other things in their lives. When for me, I just let crypto become my entire life, which was my mistake. And so we're going to learn a pretty big lesson on this, and I just wanted to share this.
Yeah, and so he's kind of, I haven't heard it put like this necessarily, but it is basically diminishing returns, you can think. So again, there's going to be exceptions to the rule. There might be someone who watches this and goes like, fuck that. I stayed up all night and like I was in it and I became a millionaire, or I did 100x or 20x on these coins, and then I secured the profits and I got out. But I think for the average person, there's a certain level of effort and thoughtfulness and time use of your leisure time per day on crypto that is effective. And especially when you're listening to high quality content that can get you into a pattern and rhythm to understand the markets, but you're not like going insane. But if you're day trading and you're reading the forums and you're on Twitter, just like looking at everything that's going on, there's actually diminishing returns. It'll actually negatively affect your performance. It's almost like eating too many calories when you're a bodybuilder. Like eventually you need a lot of calories, but at some point it ends up being detrimental. Like even if you're eating really good, clean, supposedly calories, it'll still be detrimental for you. So I think this is one of the revelations he is acknowledging.
And with this YouTube channel, just really be authentic and vulnerable, raw with you guys, because I wish there were more videos like this that I could go look at and hear people talk about their stories of what happened. And because everybody talks about their wins, I made this much money in crypto, here's how you can do it, but nobody wants to talk about the losses and the negative things that happen to them. So I hope that if something has been happening to you, or just you find the story interesting, that it is good for you, in some way. And I'll continue to make videos on my ups and downs. And I do still have a cash flowing business. I have a business that brings me in a few $1,000s every month. So I'm not desperate. That wasn't like, it was all my money that I had saved up for a few years. So it definitely stings, but it's motivating. I'm already like, okay, what do I need to do now? How do I get my feet underneath me? How do I structure myself a little bit better here, ground myself, make some more money, but also do it in a way that's meaningful, that I'm passionate about. So I'm not focused on investing in crypto, and I'm actually building something. I built a business that I made over a few $100,000. I made over $100,000 each year for the last 2 years, building this Amazon business, and it's been really successful. So I need to just find that next thing, focus on creating, instead of just putting all my eggs in some external investment. And so it's been a shitty last few weeks. I'm out here in South Carolina trying to figure out if I want to live out here. Definitely miss Florida and aspects of being out in Florida. So who knows what life will hold for me, and just going to go from there. I've got a lovely girlfriend, dog. I am living a bit more paycheck to paycheck right now. I'm not going to be able to buy a house, which really sucks, but life goes on. Every day is a fresh start. I've got oxygen in my lungs. I've had some health issues in the past. So just to be healthy, talking to this camera, have this sunshine on my face, I'm very grateful and blessed. And life is all about learning lessons. You know, I'm young. I'm only 24 years old. To be able to make that much money and then lose it, you know, it's all right. I'm going to be able to get back on my feet and things will be okay. But I just
Yeah,
want
especially if he does kind of like, if crypto keeps, keeps growing, which I think it will, and all signs indicate that, but there are definitely ways in which it can fail, and Bitcoin the network could be undermined in a way or two. 51% attack is probably the most well known theoretical attack on Bitcoin. I'm not sure if there's any others, but even though we're not aware of them, it's computer science, so there's always a chance that something can be uncovered or some exploit can be found. Very unlikely as the network continues to exist, but possible. So yeah, if the network keeps existing, it seems like it's probably going to keep growing. So I'm glad that he is both like accepting what's happened. He's not panicking. It looks like he's got money to support himself. So it's not like he's in kind of like a horrible detrimental position. He didn't take out a loan. It was his savings. It was very unfortunate. It must hurt. But I'm glad that he's looking at it and looking into potentially investing again. I think the other point that I would say is if he did save up, $63,000 or whatnot, maybe not putting all of it into Bitcoin. So yeah, maybe dollar cost average in during once we start crashing again, and putting some money into the S&P 500. So maybe doing a 50-50 split, or because he's young, maybe a 75 into Bitcoin and 25 split. But that way you just siphon off some of your money so it's not exposed, and it's in a different place, because that could be really protective for you.
to share this story with you guys and hopefully it's going to help you in some way if you are struggling with a big loss of money, and definitely just need to ground myself a bit more. But overall, like I said, life's good. We're going to figure it out. Definitely hurts to see Bitcoin breaking through that all-time high, the 100K Bitcoin. I was just waiting and being in the community. It's so fun to watch. There's so much good stuff going on in crypto. You can change your life, or you can change your life in positive and negative ways very fast. But I think it's a good thing. It gives, people a way out of the money matrix of working a 9 to 5, but we have to be very smart with it because it's also risky, So now next cycle, I'll be able to make better decisions. Just like last cycle, getting in at the top. This time I got in at, like the middle range, and then things were dumping and I was like, what's going on? And obviously I've learned now how things work, the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, people fudding. And next time I'll be able to get in when, at the bear market lows and just ride it out. Dollar cost average into Bitcoin. I am a true believer of crypto and Bitcoin, but definitely should have been more patient and just take some deep breaths, not try and be greedy. So anyways, thank you for listening. Come on back for another video. Subscribe for just some real, authentic clips and me sharing my life journey with you guys. So cheers. Have a good one.
Yeah, awesome. No, great post here. And I can't help but feel like maybe he's going to find some success here. So it seems like he's thinking about it appropriately. I wonder how much house is in South Carolina. Like, is the 150 the down payment, or is that for like a substantial? Because I know it's an American too, but I'm in Toronto here, and it's just like, yeah, maybe 150 could get you a down payment on a condo, depending on your credit system, but it is your credit rating. But it's quite crazy out here. So I'm wondering how much of the house would be that 150, and it's unfortunate. So yeah, would love to talk with him, and I'll see what I can do. It'd be interesting to have a conversation with him and do an interview, and I think it'd be very helpful. So I'm just realizing now that maybe changing some of my content to having people on who have not found success in the crypto markets and are willing to kind of elaborate and share that knowledge, because it is really good knowledge. And as far as I know, I haven't really seen too many people coming on to YouTube and uploading a video where they're kind of, as he said, licking his wounds and really having to deal with the fallout of a bad break. But I'm confident that the majority of crypto investors have been burned. I've been burned to some extent, but I've been lucky to not have felt the need to rush into to switch my plays and to chase after different narratives and to jump into meme coins too hard. Again, I've been 8 years in the market, but this is my first cycle where I've gone into meme coins, and I've made sure that I only put a much smaller fraction of my total amount of money into meme coins, and I've been pretty picky about which ones I've been in. So anyways, would love to talk with him, and I wish him good luck, and I hope he does well. And it seems like If he does dollar cost average, please look into that. If it seems like he's already aware with all the jargon, so he probably understands dollar cost averaging. Please look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart and look at dollar cost averaging into some of those lower bands on the Bitcoin rainbow chart, and just taking positions in Bitcoin when we kind of reach a much lower after we crash, just taking a Bitcoin position, and then after you double triple your money, then rotating out of that into some more degenerative plays, but always with a risk to reward ratio that makes sense for you. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching Satoshi Chain, and I will catch you next time. Bye.